buri wese abigize ibye twatsinda burundu akarengane na ruswa. U Rwanda ruzira ruswa n'akarengane mu cyerekezo 2050. Radio Imanzi 105.1 FM.
We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi News in English.
Thank you for tuning in. This is Radio Imanzi 105.1 FM, broadcasting from Kigali. Here are the news in English, brought to you by Alvin Umngari. The headlines. Minister of Finance and Economic Planning Uziel Ndejimana and Imayo Masahiro, Ambassador of Japan in Rwanda, signed an agreement of $22 million for urban water supply in Kigali. Director of East African Standby Force pays courtesy call on Minister of Defense and RDF Chief of Defense Staff. The government of Rwanda has launched a 14-year circular economy action plan that needs $211.2 million to be implemented in managing waste and adopting clean production technologies. Indonesia bans sex outside marriage in new criminal code. Germany is becoming a key destination for disillusioned young Tunisians. And we'll be back with news in detail. Welcome back. Rwanda has signed a grant agreement worth of $22.3 million, approximately 24 billion Rwandan francs, with Japan International Cooperation Agency (JICA), aimed to address issues of water shortage and leakage in different parts of the country. The agreement, signed on December 6th, will finance a project said to contribute to a stable water supply by optimizing water pressures and reduction of leakage occurrences as a continuation of the ongoing Nzove-Ntora principal water supply pipeline laying. According to officials, this will involve constructing and replacing water supply facilities in the north-central Kigali area, targeting a population of approximately 175,000 people by 2030, specifically in Gisozi, Kagugu, Gachuriro, and Nyarutarama sectors. The project is expected to complete in April 2026. Giselle Umuhumuza, the acting CEO of Water and Sanitation Corporation, WASAC, noted that the selection of areas of implementation was based on the current water demand that is overwhelming existing facilities, hence the need for the project. Uziel Ndejimana, the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, said water is a precious resource that supports human social economic development. As elaborated in our national strategy for transformation, the government attaches great importance to the availability and provision of quality, reliable and affordable water to Rwandans. Imai Masahiro, Ambassador of Japan in Rwanda, said it is their sincere hope for the government and the people of Japan that this grant assistance will contribute to improving public health and living conditions of citizens in north-central Kigali and be used in an efficient and effective manner. Rwanda and Japan enjoy 60 years of partnership across various sectors such as infrastructure, education, water, energy, and transport. The Director of Eastern Africa Standby Force, EASF, Brigadier General Getachew Shefaro Fayisa, today accompanied by Eastern African Standby Force Commander Brigadier General Vincent Gatama and Head of Peace Operations Department, Brigadier General Domitien Kalisa, visited Rwanda Defense Force headquarters and were received by Honorable Minister of Defense, Major General Albert Murasira, and Chief of Defense Staff, General Jean Bosco Bosco Kazura. The purpose of their visit was to appraise the minister and CDS about the East African Standby Force activities and also discuss ways of strengthening the East African Standby Force to be poised for future challenges. The team also evaluated Rwanda's pledged capabilities, military and force, in line with the East African Standby Force readiness assessment. The government of Rwanda has launched a 14-year circular economy action plan that needs $211.2 million to be implemented in managing waste and adopting clean production technologies. A circular economy is defined as a model of production and consumption which involves sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and recycling existing materials and products for as long as possible. At least 17 interventions are needed up to 2035, according to Dismas Karuranga, the pollution and waste policy specialist in the Ministry of Environment. He said we need promotion of partnerships and collaborations across the public and private sector, academia and civil society by promoting the Cleaner Production Center, CPCIS, and Circular Economy Hub, private sector engagement, as well as establishing a circular economy accelerator and incubator program. Jean-Darc Maria, the Minister of Environment, said Rwanda's commitment to the circular economy is driven by an aspiration to foster socio-economic transformation while also conserving and protecting our environment. Benefits are immense, reducing waste and greenhouse gas emissions, halting biodiversity loss, and shifting to genuine recycling promises a greener future for us all. Mujawa Maria disclosed that the government of Germany has provided up to 8.5 million euro to support a sustainable waste and circular economy in Rwanda through the Rwandan-Germany Climate and Development Partnership. Wanjira Mathai, the Managing Director of African and Global Partnerships of Water Resources Institute, called for circular food systems. The circular food system means adopting circular economy practices which ensure that food is produced in ways that restore nature and the food is not lost or wasted, and the resources typically wasted are used productively. A consultative meeting organized by the Office of the Ombudsman on Tuesday aimed to discuss measures of preventing and fighting corruption in financial services. During the event, officials from various institutions talked about the challenges that the financial sector is facing, and they pointed out corruption and bribery involved in the process of issuing credit to people by banks and other financial institutions. Gerard Nsabimana, the Director of Consumer Protection at the National Bank of Rwanda, Benin, said at times people applying for credit are told to pay a certain amount of money as bribe during the process, and in addition there is when clients are told to pay bribes so they can get lower interest rates. We have seen such problems in regard to the issuance of credit by financial institutions. Tabimana noted we also have delays. A person may ask for credit, but there are times when it takes 5 months, 1 year, or even 2 years before they get it. He also cited corruption tendencies involved in property valuing processes where some officials undervalue people's property during auctioning exercise that ensure after failing to clear bank loans. For instance, a collateral of 300 million Rwandan francs can be auctioned at about 50 million Rwandan francs. To address such issues, Benin always tasks financial institutions to provide reports to it showcasing how they fight corruption internally. Among those things that Benin orders financial institutions to do is to have clear and safe mechanisms for whistleblowing by clients who are subjected to bribery demands. Besides that, the Rwanda's Financial Intelligence Center, FIC, an institution established by the government 2 years ago to protect financial systems by countering money laundering, financing of terrorism, and financing of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, also contributes in monitoring suspicious transactions. So far, the Financial Intelligence Center has received up to 374 suspicious transactions since it was established. Madeleine Nirere, the Ombudsman, said there is need to put effort in teaching employees of the financial financial sector about the culture of integrity and refusing bribes as one of the ways of fighting the vice. The prosecution on Tuesday requested judges at Nyarugenje Intermediate Court to hand a 5-year prison sentence and a fine of 3 million Rwandan francs to Emmanuel Nibishaka over charges of fraud and using forged documents. Nibishaka is Deputy Chief Executive Officer at Rwanda Governance Board, RGB. During the hearing in substance, the prosecution, which was represented by Prosecutor Charles Kayove, said that last year on various occasions Nibishaka collected about $22,100, approximately 24,050,998 Rwandan francs from different people with a promise to help them get visas to the United States for studies. In addition, he forged the invitation which invited them to meetings in the US as well as emails using another person's account. The defendant also altered the date and destination of a previous travel clearance and used it to travel to Kenya. Allegedly, after getting wind of the criminal case against him, senior civil servants are required to seek authorization from the Prime Minister's office before traveling out of the country. Kayove concluded by requesting the court to convict him on both crimes and sentence him to 5 years in jail as well as a fine of 3 million Rwandan francs, arguing that they asked for a shorter sentence because he has been cooperative since his arrest. Nibishaka admitted all the charges, saying that he didn't come to defend himself but to apologize and requested a suspended sentence to be able to refund the victims. Nibishaka also pointed out that those people wanted help from him because they knew others he had helped before, partly because he had previously lived in the United States. After listening to all parties, the presiding judge set the ruling for December 14th. And we'll be back with economic news.
Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi.
The trading session recorded a turnover of 2,076,066,800 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in 4 deals on the fixed income market and 2,901,800 Rwandan francs from 16,000 shares traded in 4 deals on the equities market. Equities counters closed as follow: Bank of Kigali at 271 Rwandan francs, Bralirwa at 17 Rwandan francs, I&M Rwanda at 43 Rwandan francs, Simerwa at 120 Rwandan francs, MTN Rwanda at 175 Rwandan francs, Equity at 440 Rwandan francs, Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs, National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs, Uchumi Supermarket Limited at 104 Rwandan francs, and Narendech Buffalo at 526 Rwandan francs. The exchange rate today: the United States dollar was buying 1,049 Rwandan francs and was selling 1,070 Rwandan francs. The British pound was buying 1,280 Rwandan francs and was selling 1,306 Rwandan francs. The euro was buying 1,101 Rwandan francs and was selling 1,123 Rwandan francs. The Kenyan shilling was buying 8.5 Rwandan francs and was selling 8.7 Rwandan francs. The Tanzanian shilling was buying 0.45 Rwandan francs and was selling 0.45 Rwandan francs. The Ugandan shilling was buying 0.288 Rwandan francs and was selling 0.28 Rwandan francs. The Burundian francs was buying 0.50 Rwandan francs and was selling 0.51 Rwandan francs. And we'll be back shortly with international news.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
Somali forces have seized a strategy town in the central region of the country from Al-Shabaab, registering another milestone against the militants. The Somali Nation Army, SNA, together with local vigilantes popularly known as Mowazi, captured Adan Yabal town about 220 kilometers north of the capital, Mogadishu. Adan Yabal, a town located near the border between Hiran and Mido Shabelle regions that comprises Hira Shabelle states, one one of the 5 federal member states of the federal government of Somalia, had been a strategic location held by Al-Shabaab. The Al-Qaeda-linked extremist group, the SNA, said in a bulletin that it made no resistance from the normally featured Al-Shabaab fighters who left the town without posing resistance. Out of fear from possible fighting between the allied forces and the terrorists, most residents largely left the town, dreading being caught in the crossfire. Al-Shabaab have lost most of the town and settlements in Hirshabelle State, both Hiran and the Middle Shabelle regions, after the SNA and Mowzli vigilantes waged offensive wars. Over the last couple of weeks, the government forces and the vigilantes have been gradually inching towards the town, which has been seized. The town had been under the full control of Al-Shabaab for over a decade. The Indonesian's parliament approved a new criminal code on Tuesday that bans sex outside marriage with a punishment of up to 1 year in jail, despite worries the law may scare away tourists from its tropical shores and harm investment. The new code, which will apply to Indonesians and foreigners alike, also prohibits cohabitation between unmarried couples. It will also ban insulting the president or state institutions, spreading views counter to the state ideology, and staging protests without notification. The laws were passed with support from all political parties, and the code will now come into effect for 3 years to allow for implementing regulations to be drafted. Indonesia bans adultery but not premarital sex. Maulana Yusran, the deputy chief of Indonesia's tourism industry board, said the new code was totally counterproductive at a time when the economy and tourism were starting to recover from the pandemic. We deeply regret that the government has closed their eyes, and we have already expressed our concerns to the Ministry of Tourism about how harmful this law is. He said foreign arrivals in the holiday destination of Bali are expected to reach pre-pandemic levels of 6 million by 2025. The Tourism Association has said previously as the island recovers from the impacts of COVID-19. Speaking at the investment summit, U.S. Ambassador to Indonesia Sung Kim said the news could result in less foreign investment, tourism and travel of the Southeast Asian nation. Criminalizing the personal decision of individuals would loom large within the decision matrix of many companies determining whether to invest in Indonesia. Europe's biggest economy, with its low birth rate, is crying out of labor, and many Tunisians, exhausted by years of economic crisis, see an opportunity for a legal path to emigration. Numbers are small but rising fast, and Germany granted 5,474 work permits to Tunisians from January to October, up from 4,462 in the whole of last year. The trend has been stimulated by the fact Germany has no quota restrictions for countries of origin and increasingly recognizes foreign diplomas. Narges Rahamaini, a Berlin-based Tunisian who heads the immigration agency in Germany, say Germany has a huge need for workers, not just in the health and IT sectors, but also in hospitality, building, laying fiber optic cables, or driving heavy good vehicles. Tunisia's history as a French colony means its people are used to foreign languages, and most students are often highly qualified thanks to one of the Arab world's most reputable education system, but cursed by unemployment affecting 30% among young graduates. Senegalese authorities were searching for 2 male opposition lawmakers on Monday, December 5th, after they assaulted a female member of parliament during a brawl in parliament last week. Member of Parliament Massata Sam slapped Emi Ndiaye, and she received a kick to her stomach from Mamadou Niang during a Justice Ministry budget vote on Thursday, December 1st. She was accused of insulting the religious leader of the Member of Parliament's party. Ndiaye threw a chair at Sam, and fist fight erupted among MPs before the speaker suspended the session. Some ruling party MP said she was pregnant and taken to the hospital. Both members of parliament belong to the Unity and Rally Party (PUR), and one of the group which are part of the main opposition coalition. The party is led by Serigne Moustapha Sy, a religious leader who is not a member of parliament but is very influential in Senegal. Amin Diaye, mayor of the Nibi, Imanzi, center of Senegal, locally was reported pregnant and was rushed to the hospital. The violence in the parliament was roundly condemned in Senegal and came during an annual UN-backed awareness campaign about violence against women and girls. And that brings us to the end of today's program. Stay tuned for Portugal and Switzerland's game. This was Alvin Umngari on Radio Imanzi. Stay safe and have a wonderful night.